Hi friends, my name is Nikki Duslack and I'm the founder of Create Conservatory. We're a school in Leesburg that teaches STEM education through arts integration. You can learn more by visiting our website at www.createconservatory.com. On this week's Adventures in Picasso to Go in partnership with the Leesburg Public Library, we want to talk to you a little bit about theme. How many of you guys have ever heard of theme before? It might be something you've read about, maybe not, that's okay. And so theme is basically the underlying message or the big idea of a story. So we are going to read a story today. It's one of my very favorite stories. And then we're going to have a little talk about what we think the theme is from that book. And then we're going to see if we can take that theme and relate it to a moment in our lives. So we're going to see if we've ever had a time in our lives where we had that theme present in something that happened to us. And so the book that I want to share with you today is called Nola Scribbles Save the Day! And it's a book about a little girl named Nola. And guess what? She scribbles. And do you know what? Her scribbles save the day. It's a great book. So we're going to read Nola Scribbles Save the Day. Then we're going to pick out some themes from that book. We're going to take one of those themes and decide if there's ever been a time in our lives where that theme was present for us. And then we are going to use our supplies, which in my case is some Play-Doh, to create a sculpture that represents the time that that theme was present in our lives. So you guys can head on over to the Leesburg Public Library and pick up all the supplies that you might need for this adventure today, or you might have them at home, and that's great too. So, Nola Scribbles Save the Day. It's by Christina Lawley. Nola Scribbles Save the Day. Nola loved her scribbles. She took them everywhere. They walked hand in hand down the road, they skipped together to the park, and sat side by side at the bus stop. With her scribbles, Nola created her own magical world. That looks pretty awesome. But when Nola tried to share her scribbles with others, they could never quite see what she saw. So Nola began to hide her scribbles. She hid them in her own magical, lonely world. Do any of you guys ever feel that way? Like maybe people just weren't quite understanding what you were trying to say? I know I have. But Nola still had a tiny hope that she could create art others would understand. So she decided to fix her scribbles. She bent and twisted them in ways they didn't like to bend and twist. The harder Nola worked to change her scribbles, the harder they resisted. Still, she tried and tried until her hands began to tremble and her mind was all worn out. And she drew a blank. A big, boring blank. She fell right into it. Anybody ever feel that way? Like you can't come up with an idea anymore? Yeah, me too. Nola blinked and stared into the nothingness. She was stuck inside the blank, and her scribbles were nowhere to be found. Then she heard a faint and frustrated groan. Nola realized she wasn't alone. One by one, many others fell in too. All types of creators were stuck on the same blank page. How would they get out? Nola had an idea. But would she have to scribble it? What if nobody understood her scribbles? What if the scribbles still refused to cooperate? There was nothing left to do but try. Nola let her scribbles be as squiggly and loopy and zigzaggy as ever. And it worked. Nola and her scribbles had enthusiasm that sparked the imaginations of all the creators. Everyone shared eagerly and built on one another's ideas. With each inspired thought and very careful footing, they created a way out together. Unstuck from the blank page, Nola scribbled freely again. She was no longer afraid to share her magical scribbles with all her fellow creators who understood, even those who didn't. Oh, that's the end. I thought there was one more page, but it's just our last lovely picture. So, Nola's scribbles saved the day. Let's talk about theme. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to think about, well, what were some of the big underlying messages in this book? What were some of the big ideas in this story? Well, I know for me, one of the big ideas was that at the beginning, Nola felt like she wasn't really fitting in. She felt like people sort of didn't understand her. So that's definitely one of the themes of this book. Another one might be working through something when you aren't connecting with your peers, when they're not understanding you or you're having a hard time understanding them, being able to work through that together. That's another theme for sure. And the last theme that I think of, which is the one I'm going to use today to make my sculpture, the last theme is definitely perseverance. Perseverance means not giving up when things get hard. So Nola kept persevering, right? When she got to the blank pages, she didn't just sit there and say, oh, well, guess I'm done. Guess no one's ever going to understand me and I'm never going to be able to express myself. She didn't quit. So that's the theme that I'm going to use today to create my sculpture. So I'm going to use the theme of perseverance or determination, which means not giving up. And so I'm going to take my Play-Doh or my clay or whatever it is that you have in your supplies with you today. And I'm going to think of a time in my life where I persevered and I didn't give up and I kept going. So maybe that's the theme you've picked. Or maybe you've picked a theme about a time that you had a hard time communicating with your friends. Any of the themes that we talked about is great, and you might have come up with one of your own. So I'm going to think about a time in my life when I had a hard time doing something and I didn't give up. And so I think I'm going to use riding a bike. I had a terrible time learning how to ride a bike as a little kid. And to be honest with you, sometimes I still fall off my bike. So I'm going to create a sculpture of a bike today. And so I am very excited and I am wondering like crazy, what is the sculpture that you're going to build for the theme that you chose from this book? So you should leave it down in the comments on our post here so that we can see what you have done. So I am just taking some of my Play-Doh and I am going to create some wheels. And I'm actually going to build it on the book so that I can hold it up and show you guys. So those are my wheels that I have created so far. And I'm going to make my bike, which ties into our theme of perseverance or dedication and never giving up. So I wonder what kind of theme you have chosen from your book. Now this is a really fun activity that you can do for lots of different books or stories or poems, anything that you read. It can be even a song on the radio that you listen to, and then you can decide what are the themes from that and then create a sculpture based on the theme in that story. So we are doing lots of higher order thinking here, parents. We're synthesizing, analyzing, evaluating, and we're connecting it to our real lives, which is such an important piece in that learning component and taking things from a basic rote memorization to a deep understanding. So we're connecting it to our own lives. So boys and girls, there is my sculpture of a bike. I have left it flat, sort of 2D for time's sake. But you might build yours up and be 3D, and it might take a really long time. I just did kind of a quick example today. If you're using air dry clay, a really cool thing about that is that after you have let it dry completely, you can actually paint it. So you can paint it to look like whatever you want it to look like. So I hope that you were able to pick a great theme from our book today on NOLA Scribbles Save the Day, and I hope that you'll share them with us in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining us today in this Picasso to Go lesson, and we hope to see you next time. Again, my name is Nikki Duslack, and I'm the founder of Create Conservatory. We're a K-5 school in Leesburg, and we teach STEM education through arts integration. I hope that you're doing well, that you're staying safe and healthy, and that you're having a great day. See you next time.